Hey everyone, I'm Jesse, and welcome to another edition of Gen X Thinks. And today I'm going to talk about some twisted liberal logic. I've got something I want to read here. Alright, I ran across this on Facebook, and this is a post by somebody named Kimberly Parker. Using big words is another form of white supremacy. Blacks who live in urban areas don't have the same access to education as whites. This makes them less smart. If you feel the need to communicate like you are a thesaurus, you're probably a white supremacist. Alright. So, if we unpack this statement, this idea, right, that white people are racist because black people are less smart, it's really stupid. I mean, it's a deep level of stupidity. I mean, to be that blatantly racist and claim that it's somebody else that's doing the racism, the white supremacy thing, the level of self-delusion and the lack of self-awareness there is stunning, actually, right? Because that statement is completely racist. It's insulting, it's condescending to an entire race of people. Yet they get a pass, this person gets a pass from the left, from the woke liberals, because they're following the liberal playbook by pointing the finger at somebody else for doing something that is just a normal thing to do. Educate yourself, try to learn new words, try to incorporate them in your language, and try to just better yourself. So that, pointing the finger at someone just trying to better themselves and trying to be a better person and more intelligent person and calling them a white supremacist, and your reasoning for that is because black people are less smart. That's a real twist in the logic there, and it's real difficult to get on board with that. It's impossible. It's just, you can't do it. Not if you are an actual thinking human being. But these people like this, they have twisted the logic around to where they honestly believe. Now, this person, I'm sure, was taught the whole, that race theory thing in school. They were taught this shit in school. This is what our schools are teaching now. This is why I'm banging the education reform drum. But this kind of stuff is being taught in these schools, and this person honestly believes that she's making sense, that this is true, this statement is true. She put it out there in public for everyone to see, right? Not only that, I mean, there's that, her, referring to black people as less smart. There's so much to say here. In a subtler way, she identifies herself as a white supremacist and an actual racist by the definition of the word racist, which you've probably heard me say before, by just disregarding every other race. Okay, so according to her, you're either a black person who is less smart or you're a white supremacist. So Hispanics and Native Americans, Asians, Polynesians, all these other people, they're not even on her radar. They don't even hardly exist, right? They're beneath her notice. If they want to use big words or whatever, that doesn't even count, okay? Because that doesn't matter to her. You're either not smart or you're a white supremacist. She lives in a world that's just black and white. All right. So all these other races and peoples of color, they're just beneath her notice. So I don't know how she would explain away a Hispanic woman who is an English teacher or a novelist or a cosmologist or something and liked to use big words or needed to use big words to get across these ideas. So I don't know how she would explain that away. That would be a tough one. And then this thing, and a lot of people do this, but they equate this idea of education with intelligence. So according to her, you're less smart if you're uneducated, right? If you didn't get the chance to be educated, that makes you stupid. So according to those guidelines, there weren't any intelligent slaves, right? Because they didn't get the chance to be educated. They were all less smart. There weren't any intelligent people before colleges and schools were created. What about Socrates and Aristotle? These people didn't get degrees. They didn't get MBAs and doctorates and stuff. These are some of the smartest people in history. Never went to school. Some of our greatest people throughout history never stepped into a school. The smartest and most brilliant people on the planet that have ever lived were never educated. So that idea of equating intelligence with education level is just, it's a fallacy. It's false. Intelligence and education level have nothing to do with each other. As a matter of fact, it's my belief that a lot of the most intelligent people get washed out of school because they're unable to conform to that, to that just mind-numbing shit that they force down your throats in school. So that washes a lot of the most intelligent people out. As we see, most of our billionaires now dropped out of college in their first or second year. You don't see many billionaires with doctorates. It's just true. And I bet that there are quite a few people who would score higher than her on the IQ test, if you took her into the inner city and gave just 100 random people an IQ test along and compared them to hers, I bet a lot of them would score higher than her. So these people she's calling less smart would probably, kick her ass in an IQ test. Just the holier than thou idea that over there on the left, that she's just naturally better than everybody else, right? She's better than the black people who aren't so smart, and she's better than the white supremacists who are using the big words. She's just better than everybody. She's better than all of us. That's the kind of thing that really burns my ass with the whole leftist thing. They're better than everybody. They're undercover racists, but they get a pass because, they're calling out normal people for being racist, for just doing normal things. They're pointing the finger in the right direction, so they get a pass for their subtle, hidden racism. That's not even hidden. That's just out there blatant, calling black people less smart. That's not a very smart thing to do. Holy shit, people are stupid. All right. And here's another one I found online. White privilege is real, even though you have amounted to little despite it, right? So, despite white privilege, I'm not a billionaire. Even that my non-billionaire status isn't proof that white privilege doesn't exist, okay? I'm not Elon Musk because I suck, not because white privilege doesn't exist. It's just because I haven't worked hard enough. I haven't, I've laid on the couch too much, whatever. I just suck, right? Not because the world hasn't just handed me everything on a silver spoon. No, that's a fact. I haven't, just because I haven't taken advantage of that silver spoon. That's what this person's saying. I just haven't taken advantage of it. All the months and months of working 7 days a week and all this other stuff, that we go through to do and just to stay alive and pay the bills. That doesn't matter. We have white privilege. Okay. When our children die of cancer, that's white privilege. When we go over and bleed in the sand over there in the Middle East, that's because of white privilege. When we die in the streets of opioids, that's white privilege. When we get evicted for not paying our rent on time, or, get fired from a job because of DEI purposes and all this stuff, that's white privilege. So this whole thing with white privilege is just I don't give a shit that it's white. Honestly, I don't care. I'm a very independent, self-reliant person, and I'm not bragging. That's probably a bad thing. I don't know. I'm just talking about myself. I'll get through this world on my own. I don't give a shit what anybody else is doing. I really don't. As long as they're doing right by America, I care about me and my family and America as a whole. What each individual does with their time and how they spend their time and do what they do, I don't care, right? If I go, when I was in the Army, I got passed over for a promotion for a guy who had less time in grade than me, less experience and everything, because he was black. And I asked, I said, why did he get promoted? It's my turn. And my sergeant he flat out told me, because he's black. We got to promote so many black people every so often. And in the Army, they don't give a shit. They'll just tell you because you can't do anything about it anyway. So, and I was like, oh, okay. It sucked. I didn't like it, but that's the way it was. But that was my white privilege. I got passed over for promotion because of my white privilege. So, but anyway, I didn't kick and scream and cry about it. I'll get promoted some other time or whatever. I didn't, it did suck, but I didn't rage and all this shit and life sucks and black privilege and all this. You know what I'm saying? I just, whatever. Okay. And I went on. So my point is that if something happens to me in my life, or I don't get what I want, or I don't rage and cry and do all this stuff. I don't care. I don't care if the world is going to do what the world does, right? Things are going to happen, good and bad. And this whole white privilege thing is just a way to blame somebody else for your problems. If you don't get promoted at work, or you don't pass a test or whatever, it's white privilege and all this shit. And it's not even the people of color who are pushing this shit. It's the white liberals. The white liberals push this shit real hard, and some people of color, of course, pick up on it. The lazy ones. Because if you started coming out with Hispanic privilege, there's a bunch of lazy white people who would jump on that bandwagon. Oh, my life sucks because of Hispanic privilege. So I'm not picking on black people. I'm not picking on anybody. It's just some people will take advantage of shit no matter what it is. And that's just the truth. That's the fact of life. That's human nature. So this whole white privilege thing, though, you've got all these politicians and corporations and all this stuff who are just robbing us blind and making life difficult and sending our jobs overseas, lowering our wages, stealing our money through taxes, stealing our money, sending $50 million over to Gaza for condoms. This kind of shit. Yeah, that's a real thing. They actually did that. Doge and Elon Musk just that's one of the things they just found out that money was spent on. But all this stuff, see, and those are the real enemies. All this white privilege shit and all this dumb shit that's just another way for them to divide us. And they use the school system, the education system. That's why the Department of Education, the federal government, wanted to get its hooks into our education system so they could instill this shit from the beginning. And now they're dividing us. And I see all of these liberals on here, and almost all of them are white. All these white liberals on here who hate themselves for being white. They hate every white person. They hate even themselves. And so then it's not, if you realize that they actually hate themselves for their whiteness, then stuff kind of starts to make sense why they are the way they are. Because that self-hatred, that deep self-hatred for something that you can't change, you know what I mean? And every time you look in the mirror, you see your white skin. And they're taught from the time they're young, from the time they're little kids, that, that whiteness is bad. The color of their skin is bad. It doesn't matter how good a person they are. It doesn't matter, how hard they try. None of that stuff matters. How pure their soul is, how many people they help. They're always going to be bad. They're always going to be evil because their skin is white. Now, this stuff is being taught. If you don't believe me, look it up. So, it's crazy, and it's really mind-boggling, but it's not surprising when you realize what these kids are being taught. And now these kids are up in their 20s and stuff, and they hate themselves, and they can't get away from the thing that they hate about themselves. Okay? They can't do better. They can't meditate enough, or run fast enough, or work hard enough, or make enough money to not be white. So that's the position they find themselves in. And although I despise everything they say, almost everything they say, I cannot blame them entirely when they came up in that system. When they were taught to despise themselves for their whiteness. And you can see history repeating itself, because black people back in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, they were treated the same way. A lot of those kids didn't like themselves because of the color of their skin. Now we've got a whole generation or two of young people who don't like themselves because of the color of their skin. Just the color of the skin has changed. They're still people. They're just kids. And they're getting forced with this bullshit, this being injected with this self-loathing over something that they had no choice over. They can't change. So that is really, really difficult to deal with there. On an intellectual level, to watch this shit happen. And another one is those accustomed to privilege, equality feels like oppression. Okay? So they're saying that if, those of us who are just steeped in white privilege, right, that just money just falls out of the sky, we pay less rent than all the other people, we make more money per hour, food tastes better even, you know what I mean? You don't even have to bait your hook when you go fishing. You just throw an empty hook out there and the fish jumps on it. You don't even have to throw it out there. They just jump in the boat. All you need is a boat, which was given to you for your whiteness. They just leave them on the street around here, free boat for white people. So I just grab one when I want to go fishing. And, but anyway, so when you're accustomed to that kind of privilege, and you don't have to stand in line and stuff like that. So equality feels like oppression. So, when I see other people, getting free boats and stuff, then that I feel oppressed. That's what they're telling me. I feel oppressed. When, the fish are jumping in that other guy's boat too, and he's a person of color, I guess, that's what they're saying, then I feel oppressed because he's getting the same thing I do. And my whiteness makes me special. That's what they're saying, right? I got a problem with that one too. Number one, I don't feel any oppression at all. Never have, never will. I'm not oppressed. I'm stolen from. I'm lied to by Congress, by the Senate, by past presidents, by corporations, by media, all these big systems and money laundering schemes and pharma, just there's a lot of oppression, but just not on me, I guess. But no, they lie and they steal, but I've just never felt oppressed. So I just can't identify with this much at all. But I know what they're saying. They're saying that, that we feel that white people just naturally feel oppressed because other people are getting the same as us, right? Yeah, a mountain of debt, a coronary inducing level of stress to pay the bills every month. That's the equality that y'all want. Well, I'm gonna go out here on a limb and say that a lot of us are already equal. I don't see how any person in my social stratus, social level of income and education level and all that stuff the same as me. I don't see how any of us have any huge leg up or advantage over the other ones at my same level. I don't see it. No color, no religion, there's nothing that sets any of us apart that just gives anyone a great advantage over the others. We're all in this, and at my level that I'm sitting at is like 99% of the population, I would say. Something like that. 95 maybe, something like that. There are people who are quite a bit poorer than me, and there are people who are quite a bit richer than me, but the vast majority of the population are right here in the middle with me. And I just don't see a whole lot of advantage to being in any subsection of this middle. We're all in here just struggling together, struggling alongside each other. So I don't feel a whole lot of oppression. I don't see any oppression. And so that this one here it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, where maybe, I don't know, oppression, maybe that's just a key word for people over there on the left. They love to use, words like oppressed and democracy and these kind of words. Now, another thing I've seen, and I've seen this quite a bit on both sides, like, and the thing says that innocent people don't need pardons. So you see some MAGA people posting that for, like Biden and all the people he pardoned. And then you see people from the left posting it about Trump and, the people he's pardoned. So the difference there is that the people that Trump has pardoned, well, some of them, not all of them maybe, or the people that they're talking about, are actually innocent. January 6ers, they didn't do anything wrong. Not most of them. Now, I don't know what each and every one of them did, but I've seen videos. I've watched the videos of the guy with the horns and stuff and what he did and stuff, because he's he got a lot of attention because of his costume or whatever. But I saw the police actually inviting them in, and it was completely peaceful. They did nothing wrong. Okay, they were innocent, but they were convicted by a corrupt system. Now, in that case, innocent people do need pardons. When the entire system is corrupt enough to convict innocent people, then innocent people need pardons. Yes, they do. That's just the way it is. If it was a perfect world and all innocent people went free, then yeah, innocent people wouldn't need pardons. That's just common sense. But we're not in a perfect world. We're in a corrupt world. We're in a world where, lawyers and judges are paid off just like scientists. And these people are basically evil. I mean, are you going to waste, destroy, take away years of someone's life for your own, financial gain? I have a real problem seeing how a human being can do that to another human being. I mean, there's one thing to rob something or to do something or to take some money or something, but to take years from someone's life just for whatever reason, your political gain or something. Now, that goes to the blackmail thing too. A lot of these people are blackmailed. And it's straight out of, I'm not saying that it's specifically, but it's straight out of the Epstein Island thing, right? Something like that. They've got the goods on these people. They've got some video or some texts or something. And, then they have to toe the line. But still, that is dishonorable, dishonest. It's still evil. Even if they're being blackmailed, to take someone else's life like that, to take years away from their life is crazy, especially when you know that they don't deserve it. But the liberals, they just believe, what the Squawk Box tells them, that these January 6ers, the people that protested on January 6th, they were violent, extremists, right wing, all this shit. You know what I mean? And they just buy that. They don't want to hear anything about it, and they're not going to do 1 second of research on their own. They're just going to repeat what they were told by the talking heads and in their party, and that's it. You can't open their eyes. They don't want to hear it. So and that's the problem I have with that, is they're just so narrow and closed-minded that they won't even entertain the idea that maybe some of these people didn't deserve to be in prison. Maybe they did deserve a pardon. And maybe some of them did. I don't know. I'm listening to one side of it and the other side of it. So if somebody comes up and tells me that one of those J6ers did something that I was unaware of, I'll be like, oh, okay, well, but still, that would be something someone else told me. I still wouldn't know, but but you can go down that rabbit hole forever, trying to chase down what somebody else told you and find out whether it's true. So only if you were there is the only way really know if it was true or not, if you witnessed it with your own eyes. Another thing that the liberals like to say is that we're all immigrants, right? We're all immigrants. We're all descended from immigrants. And to this I say that yes, that's true, except that the laws were different back then. All right? And the times were different. The socioeconomic system was different. And we needed help with our labor force back then. And we immigrated people from other countries in Western civilization. So we imported more of our same culture. There's a difference there. There's a difference between adding help to an understaffed workforce and adding more more labor to an overstaffed workforce. They're sending our jobs overseas and importing more labor. And that's just a recipe for disaster. And we have immigration laws in place now to prevent that kind of stuff, right? And you've heard me in the past. You might ask yourself a question: how can I support some laws and not support others? Law is law, right? And my answer to that is that I support laws that strengthen America and enrich American citizens of all color, of all religion, of all across the board. American citizens who were born in America. I think that we should look out for our own. I think that India should look out for Indian citizens. I think that China should look out for Chinese citizens. That's how I think it should be done. I believe in nationalism and individuality. This whole collective global thing just doesn't sit well with me. I don't want to be some part of some vague global collective, some gray blob of humanity who all think the same way and believe the same thing. I don't want to be part of that. I want to be able to argue ideas with people, because that is the spice of life. That is what forces us to grow and change as people, when we're presented with ideas that contradict our own beliefs. And that is the thing with the liberals on the left. They just completely reject any idea that might contradict their own, right? And that is a really bad thing for themselves, not just for us, right? Not just for us, but for themselves, for each individual there, to just blindly shut away every idea that disagrees with your own is just, even if it's not right, even if it's wrong, but you're losing a chance to learn. But even learning that something is wrong is learning. Who was it? Was it Benjamin Franklin? No, I'm gonna get, but I could be wrong on this, so don't hold my feet to the fire if I have the wrong person. But the one who invented the light bulb, I believe it was Benjamin Franklin, said it took him over 100. He was trying to find the filament, the perfect material for a filament, and it took him over 100 different materials until he finally found the right filament, right? And then he was interviewed afterward, and they asked him, how did you keep going after so many failures? You know, after 50 failures, how did you find the will to keep going, to keep trying? And he told them, 100, I didn't fail 100 times. I learned 100 ways that didn't work. And that's what I'm talking about. Even if the ideas presented to you are wrong, you still learn. You still learn. Learning something is wrong is still learning. And that's what the liberals completely miss out on. Not only missing out on all the stuff that's right, that they're just rejecting outright. You know what I mean? So these kind of things really impair the liberal mindset. That it's stagnant. It's going to stay that way as long as it exists. It's never gonna widen its perspective and adopt new ideas, because they reject everything. That's the nature of the beast, to reject everything and to just dig your heels in and refuse anything new, anything that hasn't been presented to you already. And that's a real shame for the individuals, because they're going to be stuck in that stupid ass shit. That's why you see all these old people still voting for Kamala Harris and stuff, because they refuse. They refuse to open their eyes and look around and learn anything new. And then, maybe those are the people who are NPCs. It's impossible for them to learn anything new. Even if they're not NPCs in the strictest sense of the word, like in video games, maybe they're just here for, us real people to learn from. I'm just saying, maybe God just put them here to give us something to fight against and to struggle against so that we can learn and become better people. I don't know. Anyway, I'll leave you there with that. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like, subscribe, and comment. If you'd like to support the channel by becoming a member, I'll put that link down in the description, or you can head over to the channel page and become a member that way. If you'd like to support the channel directly, you can do so by clicking on that super thanks button down there. Or you can head over to Buy Me a Cup of Coffee and buy me a cup of coffee. Thank you to those of you who do that, and I'll leave that link down in the description. If you're interested in Gen X gear, you can hop over to Redbubble and check out the stuff we have over there. Gen X Thinks and Gen X branded stuff. T-shirts, coffee mugs, stickers, all kinds of pretty cool stuff over there. But I'll leave that link down in the description as well. If you can't or don't want to support the channel in any of those ways, you can always do so by sharing these videos on your social media. That helps out a lot. Thank you very much. I sincerely appreciate those of you who do that. If you have any ideas for future episodes of Gen X Thinks, please put those down in the comments. Or you can email us, and the email is genxthinks@gmail.com. And as always, stay frosty, Gen X, and I'll see you on the next one.